My name is Rihanna Binkley. I am the project manager for this oral history project, and I work at One Treasure Island.
My name is Lavina DeSilva, and I was the clubhouse director for Treasure Island from 2006 to 2012.
Great. And today is Thursday, March 31st, 11 a.m. And this is for Treasured Stories, the oral histories of Treasure Island from 1997 to present. All right, let's start at the beginning. And why don't you tell me about the first time you went to Treasure Island?
Wow, seems like long ago, but like yesterday. I think the first time I went to Treasure Island was in 2000. I were a part. I worked for Boys and Girls Club, but at that time I worked for Camp Mendocino. So Boys and Girls Club own a summer camp, 2,000 acres of redwood forest, and we had just merged, and Treasure Island was this new clubhouse. So I came to the clubhouse to promote a summer camp and have some of the youth participate. And I think that's when I just fell in love with Treasure Island.
Okay, so why don't you tell me then about how you ended up becoming the director of the clubhouse on Treasure Island? Oh, I think you froze. I'm going to pause this real quick. Got it.
So in 2006, so I'd been visiting Treasure Island, maybe twice a year to promote camp. But then in 2006, the clubhouse director resigned, and I immediately applied. I knew this was going to be the next part of my journey. So I was accepted and I joined, and I became the clubhouse director in 2006.
Okay. So what was it that made you so attracted to Treasure Island and immediately take the position?
The youth. The youth, the environment. Treasure Island in itself as a community, it's a hidden gem. It's a little secret that's tucked away, but it was the youth. The youth had been participating in summer camp, and I got to hang out with them, twice a year. And I've worked with thousands of kids being a part of Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco. However, Treasure Island youth, the youth, they made me feel at home. The motto for Boys and Girls Club is a sense of belonging, a sense of community. They made me feel at home. I'm originally from England, Liverpool, and I've been moved to America for many years. But when I came to Treasure Island, I finally felt like I was at home. So the parents, the community members, just the kids and the staff, I felt like this is where I wanted it to be.
So what were your early days like at the Boys and Girls Club on TI?
Woo! What were they like? Well, I think this is why I love it. I mean, I'm new, I was a new person coming into the community. And so that's where there was a lot of trust building, getting to know the parents, getting to know the youth. There was a lot of boundaries being tested. Who are you? What can you do? Are you just going to be somebody else that comes in, and what are you going to do for us? So there was a lot of, so again, I'd said there was a lot of trust that needed to be built. There was my reputation and my credibility, everything that I say, I'm going to do. There was a lot of work that needed to be done. We had youth that may not have been engaged in school. I may not, they may have been a grade or two behind. There wasn't jobs. There wasn't opportunities. I wanted to work with the community to knock those down. So the beginning stages, that's what it was all about. It was earning people's trust, proving that I was here to be a part of their family, and in baby steps, but baby steps with big strides.
So what kind of things did you notice about the community when you first got there?
There wasn't a lot of opportunities. There were opportunities for parents, opportunities for growing, education, to thrive. There was a lot of um, rehabilitation, but what did that look like? How do we grow from our trauma? There was a lot of trauma that our parents, our community, our youth, um, and that environment itself. How do we grow from that? What I noticed, um, there was a lot of transitioning on and transitioning off, but I wanted to really help identify what did we want, what can we do to now, and what can we do tomorrow. There was, I say not a lot of opportunities. Everything was in the city, but there was not a lot of, to get into the city, you need a bus pass. To get into the city, there was not a lot of people's budgets had to really, it's like, what am I going to be putting on the table? There was a lot of families that their children were their priorities. And so they, in their community, how can we bring resources to the island, and with collaborations like charities and, oh God, I'm forgetting that one, Catholic Charities and Rubicon and all these other programs. We're really trying the darndest, but we had to work together to do this. So there was a lot of disconnections, but how do we do it, and how do we do it together? How do we all have the same message and just get everybody on the ship, per se? And so we did that. We try to make a lot of the collaborations, even with the schools, opportunities, jobs. How do we bring that to the island? And we did that.
Well, how did you do that?
How did I do that? Well, first we did an assessment of what the need was, where our youth, with Department of Children, Youth and Families, we did an assessment to really identify where our youth were at academically, emotionally, and socially. And the biggest thing for a lot of our youth, for some of the confidence and self-esteem, is where do I fit into the other big picture? And because of sometimes some of the trauma or transitions that some of our youth that I mentioned were not at grade level or reading level. And so we collaborated and partnered with different schools that our youth was attending. And we wanted to be that support for the family, advocate for the family, and for that actual individual. We partnered with schools, and I had my staff work at the schools on site during the week. And then at the clubhouse, there was an hour where the fun program shut down and everybody did homework or homework support, reading, some academic support, and with literacy to really help mitigate those gaps. We also applied and was awarded a education achievement grant that allowed us to identify 15 to 16 youth that we could actually track them for 3 years, literacy, academically, socially, and emotionally. And by the time at the end of the 2 years, our youth were, if not up to grade level, but actually a grade ahead because of this program. And it wasn't just me, it was an amazing group of staff, but we also hired tutors that were actually lived on the island. One was a professor, and also one was actually a parent of one of the club kids, who then actually became our education director.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then even employment was huge. So it's great, but there was so many, there's different communities. So we have elementary, we had middle, but we had high school. We had a lot of teens when there's nothing for teens to do. Yeah, so we wanted to try to do a lot of intervention and prevention. So we started them at a young age, really helping them be a part of a community, knocking down barriers, showing them what it could be. We wanted to have them trying to really change the trajectory of their journey, trying to help them enroll in post-secondary and community colleges. For some of our youth, they wanted to make money. So how do I keep them from the city and getting them into, I wanted to change that trajectory for young men, young Black men. The trajectory is to um, to go back into system, and I did not want that for our boys, and so I want to be our boys and our young women. We didn't have a lot of um, opportunities that would employ our youth in the island.
Mhm.
And so Boys and Girls Club had other boys and girls clubhouses in the San Francisco that were a part of a teen employment program. But that
Mhm.
employment program only worked in communities like the Mission, the Tenderloin, Hunters Point, the Fillmore district. They wouldn't work on Treasure Island. And so we fought exclusively to provide opportunities for Treasure Island. And so working with the MAIP program and the JVS program, we were allowed to hire 10 to 20 Treasure Island youth for summer, for spring, and some of the winter season. And with that employment program, and these were all Treasure Island youth. And if you did well in those summer programs, Boys and Girls Club then invested in, and you became a permanent teen staff, which was phenomenal. And it wasn't just working at the clubhouse. We actually had them be a part. They could work at the summer camp. We had them help with the sailing. We had them maybe some of the young teens. They actually supported and mentored some of the youth, but it was to partner with some of our other collaborations, such as like the Gaelic Football Club, which was
Mhm.
incredible. And we were able to have some of them as be like mini coaches. And we found this really instrumental. Youth were, I can't say that there was not a lot of youth that may have got into trouble, but we were able to keep them occupied. We were able to help them earn while they were learning.
Mhm.
We also, not only for the teams, we also were able to provide opportunities for our parents.
Mhm.
There was a couple of parents that we were able to hire as part-time, as temporary staff to support with some mentoring. Maybe it was tutoring, maybe it was in some janitorial services, but we just were able, once that trust was really there, our parents they were a part of our staff. They believed and they wanted to protect our clubhouse. That was their clubhouse now with their kids. And unfortunately, because there was a lot of vandalism at the beginning of, at the early years of Boys and Girls Club. There was, as I said, there was nothing on the islands, and unfortunately, broken windows, clubhouse getting broken into. But again, I think it was maybe the lack of activities in the evening. It could have been for some resources, and so we just wanted to, and so furthering getting employment and also just really getting that trust with the parents. They became our, how could I put it? They really looked out, and they really looked out for the clubhouse, but they were just our guardians, and it felt
Mhm.
really great to be a part of.
So how did you see, once the trust was there with the parents, what kind of things ended up happening with the youth? Like how did success with the island youth kind of develop?
Well, at Boys and Girls Club, we do have high expectations. We have program expectations, behavioral expectations. We really held our youth accountable for themselves and their behavior. We really try to build respect and responsibility and self-esteem, and that takes some time.
Mhm.
And so by getting the parents on board with the messages that we implemented, and wanted the best for their youth, because we had the parents backing us up, it really rolled over into the home as well. Such as
Mhm.
things like, it was huge. We had a huge, we really, identified another gap were really looking at the nutrition on Treasure Island.
Mhm.
And that was huge. There was not a lot of healthy groceries. Again, with families that didn't have a lot of income, we just had to really rely on some basic needs. And that also came from youth that were coming from school, that were bringing in some hot Cheetos, um, just candy and junk food, and Boys and Girls Club. There was a really initiative. How do we get healthy? How do we keep our earth and ourselves really healthy? And so we banned junk food for a while.
Wow.
That was huge. So no soda, no junk food, but you can't just say no. So we have
Mhm.
to implement. So if they come in with a soda, we would give them some juice or some water, and everything was incentivized.
Mhm.
So, if they did, we met this and they changed some of their habits, they were rewarded at the end of the week. And that's what we had to do with any of our new programs. But that also rolled over into the home. So we also identified recycling buddies, and they were recycling monitors. And that was huge also for the island. I think this was all for San Francisco when Gavin Newsom was the mayor and he had this initiative about composting. People were like, what was that? Recycling. And so our youth were a big part of that pilot, and they were the educators that would take that back at home. Um, Even things like we were the staff that were called as well at some of the schools based on youth maybe not engaging, not participating, any behavioral. We were also that liaison for the school and also for the families, and we would help mitigate that. And there was that, we were able to. There was a reason behind something. Kids just don't act out. Kids
Mhm.
don't want to do something. There's a reason behind that, and so we would help identify that, get to the core root, and get our youth back on track. They're the closest with the problem. So the person that's closest with the problem are always going to be the one with the solution. And they have that. We just needed to reignite that.
That's amazing. Um, let's shift just a tad, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about your experience bringing kids to camp.
Ugh. Well, I started at Camp Mendocino when I was 18. This is actually how I started my journey in America. When I was 18, I applied for a summer camp, and I specifically wanted to work with underprivileged at-risk youth. I found Camp Mendocino. What it did for me at 18 was incredible. It was incredible. It broadened my horizons, and I knew that was actually where I wanted to be. So when I became in a privileged position of recruitment and really knocking down barriers of fundraising and getting you as many youth to participate, knowing what it can do. Um, when I first came to when I became when I became the director of Treasure Island
Mhm.
at Boys and Girls Club, every youth, I wanted every youth to have an opportunity to experience summer camp or just camp is a place where kids just get to be kids. They could just get to be, they just get to, they don't have to have their worries because nature and our staff that's surrounded with them with the positive role models are going to take care of them. And so that was part of the programming, you know. So we would to actually participate in summer camp, you had to be 8. But we had youth that were 5 and 6 at Treasure Island. And that was hard for you to go away for 10 days at 8 years old. So
Mhm.
we started doing mini camps like spring break. Maybe it was like a week, and maybe I'd take them up Friday night. And so we had a 15 passenger van. We'd take a couple of van loads, and we would start bringing up our youth just for like some mini camps, and that was incredible. So it was a very mini. So we do nature hikes, we do bonfires, we tell some stories.
Mhm.
Um, we did team building, and that was incredible. And I that was it was even more fun for me. And so by the time they were 8, they were ready to go to camp, and they were excited. And so again, that was just part of our programming, and I wanted to really have, how do we keep camp connected to the city?
Mhm.
And so youth would look forward all year round just for this opportunity. The amazing part about this, I mean, it costs to go to camp, and what's great is Camp Mendocino, they do a lot of fundraising. There are a lot of great donors um, that really support and provide scholarships for all of our youth. And so youth could go to camp for 10 days for, $120 with a scholarship. Sometimes they could actually break that down. It could be 50, but if you're a family, if you're a parent, you got 5 kids, that $50, how are you going to come up with that for 5 kids? So what was amazing is I had an incredible, the parents loved camp. One, it was like, woohoo, yeah, take my kids. But they knew the value of it and they were so invested. They helped me fundraise where our parents, and so then parents will pay $30 to go to camp. And all of our parents helped fundraise. We've got this group of families that would on Fridays, they would come to the clubhouse and they would make these sandwiches and they would cook, and it was amazing. And we do cook-offs, we do bingo nights, we fundraise. And there were some summers that we sent 52 youth to camp.
Mm.
There was some youth that did that would actually stay for more than one session, and we would always send them back. And it was incredible. We got our youth out of the city. They got to meet new youth from all over the Bay Area. They got to, meet staff like myself from another part of the world. They
Mhm.
made connections. They came back confident. They came back with such self-esteem and so much respect and ownership of being a part of this like elite club. And that's what Boys and Girls Club is, a really sense of a part, a part of something. And it was amazing. And to just see our youth so excited um, to get on that bus. And then when they came back off the bus, it was so sad. And another pivotal part, Treasure Island. So historically, for Camp Mendocino, when the buses, so to take the youth up to Mendocino, which is about 160 miles from San Francisco, um, years ago, the buses would pick all the youth up from um, Ocean Beach.
Mhm.
That was a little crazy. I mean, and it was a little, it was a little hectic. Um, with me being the clubhouse director for Treasure Island, I worked with the island folks and spoke, and Treasure Island One, they helped. So now all of the buses, all the pickups, they came from Treasure Island. And so what was a huge win, because it was like, our parents cannot, they don't have
Yeah.
the means to take them to Ocean Beach. And
Mhm.
so we actually had buses actually come and pick us up. So we would always have 2 buses come and pick us up from Treasure Island. So parents, all they did would meet me at the bus at 7:30. We'd have breakfast for the kids. We'd all have, it was a good send off, and it was phenomenal. Like it was like a proud mama, and I was like waving to them, but waving. I was like, all right, 10 days. The parents were excited. The parents got to have a little bit of a break,
Yeah.
So, but it was really great.
So what prompted you to leave in 2012?
Whew. It was time. I had worked for Boys and Girls Clubs for over 23 years. And that was a really, really hard decision, not to leave Boys and Girls Club, but it was to leave Treasure Island.
Mhm.
It was really hard because I was I felt like I was losing a part of my family. But I knew I needed to go on to the next part of my chapter. I actually moved back home to take care of my family. And so I moved back home to England. Um, so it was a huge transition. I hadn't
Mhm.
lived back in England as an adult since I was 20. And so that was huge. But I also knew this was going to be hard, and I was a part of a staff, which again, to share, I felt good that I knew that they were there to really continue that legacy. But I was really, really saddened that to hear that the clubhouse was closed down in 2013.
Mhm.
I was actually devastated. You
Mhm.
know, I leaving Boys and Girls Club was hard, but leaving Treasure Island was also harder for me
Mhm.
because I knew, well, I actually thought that the clubhouse was going to continue,
Mhm.
but to have to keep a clubhouse open and to have staff and programming, it's you had to have a lot of members participate. Um, and unfortunately, I think the attendance really went low. But
Mhm.
our youth, it wasn't about how many, it was about the impact. If I had 10 youth, those 10 youth that were being supported for the staff, they were going to be phenomenal 10 young, incredible young beings.
Mm. So do you still keep in contact with any of the family,
Oh,
any of the
oh my, are you kidding me? Oh, well, to see some of the youth that are parents now is
Oh,
incredible. I definitely was social media has definitely helped,
uh-huh.
incredibly helped. And so I I'm honored, I'm honored. And there are a lot of parents that will keep me informed. Unfortunately, we've had so much, whether it's a birth or a tragedy, they keep me updated. Um, there are a lot of parents that will go above and beyond to let me know or to give me a message. Once you become a part of a Treasure Island family, you're there forever. And
Mhm.
I'm a part, they're a part of me. Um, we just had a young person his birthday, wanted to send me his picture. And I'm like, I don't know, you don't need to be sending me those party pictures, but they're proud.
Mhm.
I wanted so much for our young people and to see them flourish, to see them do so well and for them to continue to share because that's hard as a youth developer or be a part of something amazing. When you leave, you feel like you've really let them down. But to know that I can still be a part and they don't feel like I left them makes me feel incredibly blessed and honored. Um, yeah, they keep in touch with me. And I want to do more. Like I want to have a barbecue. Like we need to do
Yeah,
that this summer. We should have a barbecue and invite a bunch of the folks. But yeah, it's incredible.
like a reunion.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a reunion, whether it's on the Gaelic football field. I don't care, whatever. Even if it's at the clubhouse, we should definitely do that. And we have a lot of parents on our Treasure Island. That was another thing I have not talked about. But whew, our families know how to cook. And that was one thing I had to be like, there was a lot of competition too. And so it was so sweet because we would be working long hours and that was the way that they wanted to win our hearts. There was a couple of parents in particular that would always bring me a plate of food. And I got to tell you, oh my gosh, whew, it was delicious. And that's what kind of gave me one of the ideas. We had a lot of special events,
Mhm.
Black history and Latino heritage. And how do we, obviously, because of our program as a youth development, we want to bring the whole community. So, a particular Black History Month, we celebrated every single week. And so we would actually have, we had Delroy, oh God, I'm messing up his name, but we had, an actor that came out and did story time to our youth. And then we had a performance. So our youth were like they were incredible artists. So they were dancers. And so there was a
Mhm.
performance that they would do. And then to involve the parents, we had a cook-off for Valentine's. And we had about 17 people. Like they had to, and we actually had
Wow.
judges. We had people from Treasure Island, we had someone from the city, we had a director, another director, and they were judged. And so we had parents that like some of the parents didn't speak English, but their kids were like, please, mama, please, and one of them, she won actually one time. So there was a little like, oh, because you had the best food for that year. So it was incredible. So food is it's how we break bread together.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that was huge for us. We always provided food every single day at the clubhouse, even when we had teens, but the parents were a part of that. So food was huge. And every celebration that we had, whether we had a youth of the year,
Mhm.
whether we had our holiday parties at the end of the summer, the food was a very big staple, and that was amazing because the families were the one that would always step in and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. um, and with one of those, with the food component, uh, Treasure Island. So the Boys and Girls Club are a part of a bigger entity. So Boys
Mhm.
and Girls Clubs of America. And every year, a clubhouse can enter a program excellence. And so it's a national program recognition. One year, Treasure Island was awarded a program excellence award for a
Wow.
program that the staff and the youth created. It was a very new program. It was for our mind, body, and soul. And again, when we were talking about the nutrition, the
Mhm.
literacy, and the social and emotional, and we were able to do that with biking and hiking, with our summer camp, with our movements and our art. We have health and wellness classes, and part was a big part of that was our dance classes. We had boys, we had teens, we had young kids participate in that, and we won that year. It was very, very proud moment. And
Wow.
that was just, I think that was the incredible staff, like Omar Flanoid. We had Jennifer Carter, who was incredible. We had Lauren Cox. We also had Colleen Maltby, who was phenomenal. We had a series of great staff that was a part of that wouldn't have been able to do without their teamwork. And they were there for the long run.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories about particular kids that you got especially close to that you want to share?
Yeah. So many. I don't know which ones to say. I mean, I think there are so many youth. I had a lot of, well, you're not supposed to have favorites, but I had a lot of favorites.
Yeah.
Uh, there are youth, I can speak of one young man that was he was like my little shadow. Kalen Stanley was incredible. And now he actually has gone off, and he was actually a big part of the sailing club. He loved participating in the sailing. Him and his sister would participate in the club, him and his sister Sophia. But he was a sailor. And now, he's engaged, but he has his own boat and
Oh,
often posts on social media he actually built and refurbished his own boat,
oh.
and very proud that he posts those. But I have to keep on telling, excuse me, Kaylin, when are you taking Mama V? That was my name, was Mama V. So Mama V, when are you taking Mama V on the water? Um,
Uh-huh.
and then there was another young man. Actually, there was a few young men, but taking them up to summer camp really helped expose them to things that they didn't, could see the possibility. And there was a young man that just fell in love with our horse program, and he just loved it. He was one of our teen staffs, an amazing, amazing young man. And I remember saying, Mom, I want to be a horse jockey when I grow up. And I'm like, you do that. I'm like, all right, then. Never seen that before. And he was persistent. He enrolled in like an intern program. He would go to and be a volunteer where he actually, were able to brush down some of the horses, and he just fell in love with the pro. He was an amazing young man, and he was the oldest of his family. He was funny, he was witty, and we were so happy that he was a part of our teen staff. And he changed the trajectory of being a jockey. He was one of the first African Americans to be a jockey. That is,
Wow.
and to see him flourish in that was a very, very proud moment, because it started when he was probably 9, and then to see him change that trajectory and of the possibilities, definitely that. And there's so many. I mean, there's so many to talk about. Yeah, I just couldn't even think about one particular.
Uh,
I love them all.
Yeah.
I can't say there's like, even the ones that challenge me the most,
Mm-hmm.
even the ones that maybe suspended and
Mm-hmm.
then came back, I love them even more.
Yeah.
And they had such characters. They made me laugh. Um, they just, they made, it didn't feel like a job. I felt like a mom, and I was a mom to all of these kids. And I will forever be blessed that I got that opportunity. Like, I felt privileged, to be a part of something incredible. And then to come to Treasure Island, like that view at that time, I lived in Oakland. And so coming to the islands, I was like, whoo, you beautiful thing, you. And then leaving the island, I was like, you beautiful thing, you. And when I would have family, that was the first place I took, was
Mhm.
Treasure Island. It's beautiful. It's such a place of diversity. It's a place of the unknown. Um, and it's just, I like it because uh, it's so open,
Mhm.
which is so different from the city, from San
Mhm.
Francisco.
So, as you know, all this development has started. So, what are your hopes and dreams for the future with Treasure Island?
I hope that youth programs, I hope that there can be a youth program. It'd be great if there was a school. I know that there was a school at one point. Um, I don't know what the possibilities can be. I'd love for it to be some form of connection to San Francisco. As long as they have youth programs, teen programs, and things that can really help um, the parents feel empowered of their journey and then being parents. I think that's the hard part, is when there's been so trauma and so much transition. It's how do we help them out and flourish and remind them that they're incredible and they can do what they can do and be the best versions of themselves.
Mhm.
And then for me, I just need to come back and visit. It's been a few years.
Mhm.
It's been a few years.
Things are definitely different. You're going
I
to see
know.
lots of new stuff.
I
It
know.
changes every
I
day.
know. I know.
Yeah.
But nothing's been in vain of my time at Treasure Island. I currently work for Beyond Emancipation, and I actually thought that Beyond Emancipation serves um, current and former foster youth,
Mhm.
and so many of my youth that I work with on Treasure Island have walked through those doors. There's a particular family um, that I remember there was a call at the front that there was a young man that was looking for some support for him to try and find his sisters.
Mhm.
And I don't know why. And I don't do direct service, so I'm the director of programs. But at that time, I think I was the manager of the workforce program. Something made me want to go up there, and I couldn't believe it. It was one of our young people from my time at Boys and Girls Club. And my name's not an easy one, Miss Lavina. And he was like, "Oh, Miss Lavina." And we were able to help him identify where his sisters had been fostered. And so
Oh.
we were a part of that unification. And so the journey just continues to happen no matter what. You know, I think San Francisco is a big but small community.
Mhm.
And you never know who you bump into. And I just think for me, I just really hope that I've instilled some impact or a sense of empowerment for them, and that they know that they're incredible.
Oh. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Because that was amazing.
I don't know what else I just um I don't know. Is there anything else I should
I mean, I thought that was great.
really?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Why don't I stop it and we can
Okay.
chat for a little bit?
Okay.
But
Okay.
thank you so much, Lavina. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. This was great. I
Good.
gotta say I was definitely honored to I be a part of this. I feel I'm actually really happy and blessed that because I feel like my story, my time with the youth now, it's not lost. So now it's going to be forever a part of Treasure Island. That the biggest thing I want to say, and I really feel like I want to honor this to Boys and Girls, to Treasure Island. You know, I spent over 20 odd years with Boys and Girls Club. I gotta thank you and thanks for what you did. Treasure Island purposely went out and they awarded me with recognition. It wasn't about I wanted to be recognized, but I only spent 6, but those 6 incredible years of Treasure Island was probably the most impactful part of my whole journey with Boys and Girls Club. And being a part of this makes me feel that my time in America has meant something. And I just feel really honored. And that's why Treasure Island will always be a very, very special community in San Francisco. By far, my favorite part. I've worked at Hunters Point, Sunnydale, Fillmore, Tenderloin, you name it. Treasure Island by far is the best community.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Lavina. That was a perfect ending. Thank you. I'm gonna hit pause and we'll chat. All right, thank you.